Okay, we
Good
are live.
morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Coffee with a Coach. Good morning, Dr. Milu.
Good morning, Tony.
And good morning, Arti.
Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Dr. Milu.
Good morning. It's nice day to start with. And I'm looking at the background, Tony. What happened to your beautiful lake background?
Well, you know, life happens. And we, throughout that, we still have to take time to take care of ourselves, because that's our subject today, right? Is self-love.
Yes, that's
And
our monthly theme. And guess what? The next month theme is love. So you have much more to prepare for next month.
well, you know, even though I'm not giving myself the self-love in my boat, I still took time today, this morning, for a little bit of self-love.
Right.
And we won't, you know, don't let your mind go in the wrong direction. What I did was some yoga, and that is what I do for myself. So this is another space that I enjoy to be with my being. And
Fantastic.
so what are you doing today, Arti, to express your own love for yourself?
I took some time this morning. I did a healing session this morning, but honestly, sometimes in a healing session I do for someone else, I get healed myself. So it's really a twofold situation for me.
Well, isn't that interesting? I always, when talking to Dr. Milu, I've always said, you know, if I can help others find their way, maybe I can find my own way. So it is a little bit of self-healing as well at the same time.
I think sometimes when you see how your clients are making progress and it's something's working and finally something's working for them, it's like, I mean, it's one of the biggest joys I think you can have as a person, I feel.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. And when it comes down to the thought of self-love, it comes down to really just accepting yourself and accepting all your imperfections. Isn't that true?
100%. You know, Tony, I think even when we talk about practice of self-love, I think we get caught up in the amount of time of how, I think we talked about this last, and time is a construct, it's a social construct. So for instance, everybody's like, you should take 20 to 30 minutes a day in the morning, right? I mean, I truly believe that. I pass that out to clients that I work with as well. But in reality, if we get caught up with the number and not the experience, it doesn't even amount to what it should be, is what I've found. So within the last 15 minutes, I can tell you I felt a different feeling of, oh, if I'm down to taking 30 minutes some days that are not even truly an effective practice, then I beat myself up for not doing it right. See, then you make it a conscious process versus it being a very much of a subconscious, unconscious process to take care of yourself and self-love.
Well, we all get busy, and I know, speaking with Dr. Milu, his schedule is a constant meeting from one thing to the next. You juggle a lot of balls in the day, and to take time, whatever that be, for yourself is, you know, in between a lot of that. And sometimes it's just taking a deep breath for about 5 breaths.
Well, Tony, the lesson we just learned from Arti is how she do the healing session, and after that she get healed. So as a busy schedule you are mentioning about me going from one meeting to another meeting, and as the days goes, is I guess I get healing from each session myself. So it constantly improving me, and it's making me feel much happier. So it's not a stress at all. It's just going from one to the other. And that's like, I have already upgraded myself from the previous session.
Well, you always have a smile on your face, and that's obvious that it is good for you.
Smile is a reflection of your self-love. It is how you love yourself, right? So if you have a smile, it's coming from your internal of the expression of self-love, that I am comfortable, I'm happy, I'm content, I'm in the zone. And as we are meeting with all these people, and even in this meeting, it's like, so glad to see you. Is the living in the moment. So means if you care about that moment and you're happy in that moment, you don't have to worry about the next moment. It will come and it will be happy again. It will be the present moment. So if you just face every moment as it is, that's the best way to do it.
That is excellent advice. And it's funny how smile is contagious with other people.
Mhm.
And I'm
Just
sure.
like a yawn. Just like a yawn, but a positive smile is something else. I agree.
Yes.
And you have a beautiful smile, Arti.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm sure when you have your sessions with your individual people who come in, you can read them just by the facial expression.
Tony, Milu talks a lot about nonverbal language, which I'm starting to get more wanting to really understand it more so. But I have discovered even in phone sessions, when you feel someone's energy, a lot of my sessions now are turning into phone. So because otherwise a lot of folks will hyper focus on doing a practice and paying attention to me, and they think of me as a teacher, which is not even supposed to be the case, right? When you're on the phone, you can still pick up on their energy, and you can still pick up on their anxiety, you can still pick up on things, but then they can go in their own reflective practice. And so even I feel like now I'm realizing cues in all regards, cues in nonverbal, cues in our physical space and our distance space, how we can feel people's voice and tone are extremely important. And I think Milu has reminded me how to pay attention to signs of body language, but also now how people converse, tone, all of those things that are so important.
Well, doing those sessions on the phone, I would think would be so much more of a challenge than doing them on Zoom like this, where you can actually get a feel for how they are feeling by, did they comb their hair today? Did they straighten, do they care about themselves to present themselves properly?
That's a really good point. And I remember when I first started my coaching program, it was just all done on phone for all those sessions. And you're right, you may not know how physically they present. And even my old counseling background, when we used to do the mental status exam, you did have to look for physical. You did have to pay attention to time, orientation, and place. Could the client examine where they were and were they oriented? But now, in a way, as important as that is, when you start to focus on the heart center and to help do anxiety reduction in that, we call it the crown chakra, in that headspace, it doesn't even become as important to pay attention to the physical construct of how we present ourselves.
It's interesting that you say that, because I have heard that people who meet via phone and the physical and presentation is not a part of it at all, get a much deeper connection in beginning a relationship than they do necessarily when they have to present themselves, because they can be themselves.
Yes.
They can expose themselves more from the inside.
Totally. Actually, my husband and I started long distance dating on the phone. So we actually talked on the phone before we met. So we actually developed a, you know, because when you go on your first date, you always pay attention to that physical, how attracted are you to somebody physically? But in a way, when we're talking about this, I realize you develop a spiritual connection when you are talking to someone on the phone and you are not really hyper focused on how people present physically.
So Dr. Milu, how do you feel about that? Because you do a lot of Zoom calls. So the physical is always a part of it. Do you do much on the phone without the physical presentation?
Of course, that's what we always did using phone before the Zoom came to the picture, right? So the spiritual connection that Arti is talking about, and she mentioned one key thing before, is called a social contract. We all have a social contract with something. And social contract in the self-love, we talk about social contract with yourself. And in love dimension, when we move into relationship with others, is called social contract with others, right? So there is multiple connection we have to make sure, like this Arti mentioned about dating on phone, right? That we have the complete connection, and that's the aha moment that this is the right person for me. Spiritual connection is one of them. So as she uses phone, she's just listening to that voice. How is the voice pitch? Everything is in that voice is now connecting to, and we have these receptors that absorb all the things from there. Like, for example, last time we were looking at your beautiful boat and the lake, and we are already happy just by seeing you there. It's called our visual receptors receive that, and they say, oh, beautiful, look at Tony, he's having fun. We already assume that, even though you maybe was chased by a bear, I don't know. but the thing is the visual. So the receptors, the more sensory receptors you open up, the better it is. So in auditory version, when you are just having phone, you are absorbing the voice, you are absorbing the pitch, you are listening to the person's reaction. It's all listening mode, and how deeply you are listening. But when you are also opening up your visual side of it, you can also see the person's facial expression. You can see the environment they're in, like just imagine the picture of Tony chased by a bear. Even in that visualization will be in high anxiety of Tony's death, or maybe Tony killed the bear, I don't know. So we will be in a suspense mode at that time. So the gist of the matter of it, and I'll make it simple, is the more sensory mode we open up. Touch is another one, that when we touch somebody, we hug somebody, the connection that we establish. So the more sensory we open up, the higher level of connection we make. And in love dimension, you can see that a relationship between a husband and wife is much deeper by having that connection on physical manner. The more you snuggle, the more deeper connection you're gonna have.
It's interesting you say that, because I have met numerous people who got married meeting online through a dating service, and I never participated in that myself, so I don't know what that's like. But I would presume that you make a connection in some manner, and you're speaking via phone or text as opposed to online. So it does give you that, instead of the speed dating concept of getting to know somebody, a little bit more of a patient dating concept. So maybe that phone connection does play a little bit more with your mind construct of who's on the other line, who's on the other side of that. You're connecting with them and visualizing a person by the cues you're picking up, correct? And seeing more of the beauty because your mind is creating that. Is the theater of the mind that's creating that beauty.
And you said it right. It's like the one in you are picking up. It's the receptors. Remember, I said receptors. The way you interpret that. So when you are hearing somebody's voice in the phone, they may be chased by a bear, but you are only hearing the voice. Your receptors absorbing that, and what you interpreting of that situation in your mind is the connection you establish. And the reason I said more receptors you use, the better it is. And it's like I deal with people who have relationship issues, husband-wife situation. Just snuggle can bring all your senses together and spend half an hour snuggling and find out how that worked for you. And if you are having relational issue, bring that in your practice. It's an exercise that you should do to enhance your relationship with the other person.
That's 100% so true. So they say research has shown even a 20-second hug with a significant other, or even doesn't have to be a significant other, even if it's somebody you really feel close and connected to, 20-second hug a day, and the release of oxytocin, which is again stress hormone, and cortisol, stress hormone, what the release can do for releasing that out of our body and connectivity. And that's why during COVID, a lot of our seniors have faced such depressive moments because of the fact that they haven't had human connectivity. It's not that they have felt isolated from activities, it's that they have missed human touch. And so that's where a lot of caregivers and support staff and a lot of these nursing homes have really made it a point to try to embrace as much as they can in a safe way, to give holding of a hand for longer periods of time, or however it is. Exactly what Milu talked about, that snuggling, that warm embrace, and what that human connectivity does through the power of touch is like any other for the absorption of love, truly.
Exactly. And it's not only human, it's animalistic.
Animal, yes.
Yes, just think about if you have dogs, they teaches you how to be connected, right? You get a lot of lessons from dogs and any animal. Sometimes the animal just want to come to us and we feel like, oh, they're attacking us. Like a lion, for example, that initially they don't want to eat us, but because we run, they want to eat us, because now we become a prey instead of a friend, because
So
we are
you're saying
running.
we should face the lion and snuggle up?
Yes. Do you know the theory of when a bear coming to you, you stand still and they will realize you are not a threat. The animals that, they have a different way of now. You have to protect your life at the same time, Tony, if you're in front of a lion, but running. And the example of running is running from anxiety, running from anything that we have stress. Running is escaping, and when you're escaping, the other person take over. Similar thing, a lion will now look at you. Oh, it's running, it's a prey. Let's go for it, and they can chase you faster than you can chase them. So, but you have to evaluate every situation and make the judgment call. Now, if you have to climb a tree, do it. Make yourself safe first.
So I do feel that during COVID, that was one of the things I missed most was the hugging of other people. I've always felt that was important through life, to share that. And I think it's one of those things that you might be doing for others as much as you're doing for yourself. But as this COVID thing starts to ramp up again, how do you feel that we can take care of ourselves and express more self-love if we're missing those hugs or the touch from others?
So Tony, I last week was at an expo, it was a spiritual and holistic expo, and I did a talk on the power of positivity. And so I did a quick guided relaxation, and during the relaxation, I had them give themselves a hug, like they literally to give themselves a bear hug. Just when you'd feel that feeling while you're closing your eyes and going inward, we've gone through the practice. And then telling themselves that they loved themselves a couple of times. And one person later came up to me at the table and said, I just wanted to tell you, I have held crying in my system for so long, and I just needed a good cry. But she was kind of going through a lot of grief during COVID. She had a lot of loss, many people have. And she said, I just needed a good cry. And actually, I think it was the art of holding herself and giving herself some really good self-love to be able to do a release that allowed that piece to happen. So my thing to you is if we can start to learn how to give ourselves little bear hugs throughout the day, like we had taught our kids, or pats on the back, like things that really do that self-expression of love, I think is one easy way that we can incorporate into our practice.
A good example I'll give you, Tony, is in the morning when you go look at the mirror, you smile, right? You giving yourself a smile. It's a self-reflection of, oh, look at the handsome guy on that mirror, or beautiful lady on the mirror. Whichever person is there, is we reflect on ourselves, and by giving ourselves the praise, like you mentioned about hair, if your hair is not looking good, you take a comb and comb it, right? So it's making yourself look better, gives yourself much more comfortableness with yourself. And this is the self-hug. We're giving a hug. Self-hug is one of the way. The best way that I know is called mental hug. Give yourself a mental hug, which is the mindfulness meditation. You close your eyes like we did before and kind of go inwards and feel peace there. And that's the best self-love you can give yourself.
No, I agree. And, it's interesting that you say that about giving yourself a bear hug. That's one of my morning yoga moves as a part of my yin yoga that I learned was giving yourself a good solid bear hug and breathing into it. And I never thought of it as, well, I guess I do think of it as hugging myself, but it's also, it is a good feeling. It's a very good feeling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So is there anything we could do today, Arti, that we can share with anyone who's watching to express a little self-love with themselves today? I know no matter how you're feeling, being present in this moment is a great way to realize that a lot of the pain and grief or whatever that's bothering you is really a construct of your mind. And if you just realize right now, I'm sitting here talking with two lovely people and I feel good and I breathe in without any pain, and maybe just being in that present moment helps you realize that some of the pain is in your mind.
Just with your breath, how did it feel to kind of go through that experience when you took that breath?
Well, it's when you spoke earlier about having enough time in the day, and I was speaking about Dr. Milu and his calls one after another. When I found myself stressed or running from an appointment from one thing to the next, and being having a positive outlook, I think I could get a lot more done in the amount of time I really have. I just take that moment and I breathe deep. And doing that a few times in a row, suddenly all of the stress, whether somebody cut you off in traffic or you're frustrated because you're in a line and you want to be somewhere else, all of that kind of dissolves. You just have to accept what is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if there's traffic in front of you, there's people in front of you. You can't do anything about it. All you can do is accept it.
Silence is another very key to this component, where practice silence. Practice silence, and you'll see that if you are in nature, go to a mountain or wherever, right, and you practice total silence, just silence, and you will see the self-love enhances just by being silent. Absorb everything around you, take it all in. Even if your eyes open, take it all in. If your eyes closed, you're taking inside in. And I am saying that inside in. And when you are silent and just using your eye to capture the moment, with eye open, then you will see how much powerful that is, just to be in that self-love mode. You become automatically happy.
That's 100% true. And I think anybody who is feeling depressed for whatever manner, if you do just get out in nature in any manner that you can, and that is the thing I think I love about hiking more than anything else, is as you're walking and just connecting with what's around you, and like you say, the silence of actually hearing the wind through the trees and hearing nothing is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Another tool that we will discuss next month, and this may make some people not comfortable, is eye contact. So if you are a meeting and you have somebody you're discussing, you will see that most of the time we are not making the eye contact. And eye contact sometimes may make people uncomfortable. So practice that sometimes. Go somewhere and just make eye contact with a stranger. And stay in the eye contact mode, and you'll see how they will feel uncomfortable, because now your eye capturing them in a different way, and they are now feeling it.
What are you looking at?
Right. So that's mean the other aspect of that, you are paying attention. So in a relational dimension, which we'll talk about next month, is when you are having a spouse having problem with each other, just establish eye contact. You will see that person will know that you are paying attention. So we talked about snuggling. Now practice eye contact, and you will see how much that person will say, well, you're giving me attention. Attention is the key of any relationship, and the eye contact will do that.
And it can be eye contact, and it can be just committing to spending time with somebody doing absolutely nothing.
Here is a free advice for you, Tony. You don't have to take them any restaurant, spend a lot of money or anything. Just establish free eye contact and stay in that zone for a few minutes and see how comfortable that eye contact become, and how the person will be asking you questions. What are you looking at? And you can say, looking at you. Right? And then you can add some adjective to that. How beautiful are you? I'm looking at you. And that's the moment that will change your relationship, because the other person will know that you are establishing a bond, you are establishing a relationship. These are some practice, it sounds simple, but when you do it, and it's free, practice that and you will be fascinated how things change.
I think that's very good advice. You made mention that you saw me doing some travels recently on Facebook, and what that was all about was just spending time with my significant other, my spouse, and discovering things we haven't done before and just doing it together. And sometimes it would be doing absolutely nothing. but being with each other and connecting. And I think we all get so busy in our work lives and our family lives and taking care of other people that we forget that that person who's your partner is the most important person in your life, and that you need to just take a minute and do nothing with them, or just be with them.
Well, that's called doing everything with them, because nothing equals to everything. If you understand what I'm saying, because you are paying full attention to there, means everything else disappeared.
Right.
Nothing means everything else disappeared. And
I
that's,
feel like this formula, Dr. Milu and Tony, can really help a lot of relationships that don't always have to go south. You know, there are a lot of relationships that don't necessarily need to end up in the divorce category of 1 and 2. We all know it. It's just a matter of what you're talking about, the simple art of being and active listening, which takes a effort, but once you put it in, you can see it's true. It's a social experiment that it could change and transform society if we can get this under control. Our marriage rates and our rates of being commitment. I'm talking about that commitment level that people can rise to.
Well,
yes.
you take people for granted that are the closest to you because they're always there, and so you assume certain things. And it was interesting when we had this week just together, and then we came back and other people got involved, and they might be people, other family members, people that you love, but suddenly you kind of reverted back to where you were. It's like, wait a second, we're perfectly fine together when there's no interference. We just need to find a way to work with the interference in our life.
Yes, and it is the theory of, if you don't give attention, somebody else will, and then you lose the attention. So better start practicing attention. And in my relationship coaching, that's what I do. I give them some assignments of these type of things: eye contact, snuggle, practicing attention. And once you practice attention, you practice eye contact for a long time. And they will be internally stared up saying, why is Tony looking at me that long? What's going on there? That's the establishing a bond. And you will be surprised if you practice those 3 things. You will see paying attention, right? Because if you don't pay attention, somebody else will. So you better start paying attention. Establish eye contact when you're having conversation with you, and it's don't have to be your spouse. If you're at work, your co-workers, your boss, whoever, if you establish the eye contact, they will internally connect with you. They will know that you are paying attention, right? And practice silence. That's another good thing. Is it's like we in formal setting we shake hands. Is a gesture of friendship, right? So those are key things that we practice to build enhanced relationship. And Arti, you should come back next month, because we're going to be diving deeper into the relational dimension, which is love, and we will be discussing that more and more.
Well, it seems we've already crossed over into it.
In life, there is no boundaries, Tony. And when you get me started, it can cross over. Because we are towards the end of this month. This is the last session of the month. We are discussing the next session coming. But remember, relational dimension, self-love, is also a relational. By practicing love with others, you practice love to yourself.
They're connected. You're absolutely right.
This is a mode of connection, and that's what we do. We connect with people, and that's exactly what we have to practice.
And I guess we're getting to time now for the end of our session. So I want to thank you, Arti, for joining us. It's always great to see your lovely smile. And we would love to have you join us again next month to discuss love, if you have it in your time.
Yeah, I'll take a look at my schedule. But if I can make it, I would like to force be with you all.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Milu, it's always a pleasure to have coffee with the coach and Arti. And I look forward to seeing you both again soon.
Yes.
See you next time, Tony, and thank you, Arti, for joining us.
Thank you all. Take care.
Have a wonderful day.